Chapter 10. The Burial and a Mother Remembered. The Cave of Machpelah. Morning came quietly and pale. The sun crested the hills of Hebron gently, as if in mourning also. The winds carried no dust, only stillness. The brothers of Israel rose early, washed in silence. Together they prepared their father's body one final time. The linen was clean, the oils refreshed, the hands folded in peace. The procession to the cave was not loud or grand. It was deeply reverent. Joseph walked at the front, Ephraim and Manasseh at his sides, no longer just sons, but representatives of the next generation. The bier was carried with solemn strength by Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, each moving in rhythm, each carrying more than just their father's remains. They carried his memory, his legacy, his name. As they neared the cave, Issachar found his gaze lifting, not toward the bier, but to the sky above the cave's mouth. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. The names echoed in his mind like footsteps on sacred ground. These were not just ancestors, they were covenant bearers. And now, they were being joined by their son. Elohim keeps his promises, he thought, even across generations. The cave of Machpelah waited, unchanged, as it had been since Abraham first purchased it generations ago. Within it lay the bones of giants, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, and Leah, the mother of half a nation. Now Israel would join them. The honoring of a patriarch. Before the body was lowered, the procession halted at the mouth of the cave. One by one, those who had come with the brothers, Egyptian officials, high-born courtiers, captains of Pharaoh's guard, priests, and scribes, stepped forward. They came not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as mourners. Some laid down jewels, others rings of silver, or small carved scarabs bearing prayers of peace and protection. A handful poured libations of wine into the earth. Others laid woven offerings of papyrus and linen, items reserved for priests and nobles. And nearly all of them turned to Joseph, bowing, not with Egyptian pomp, but with genuine reverence. Joseph felt his breath catch. Egyptians, nobles, priests, warriors, bowing before the memory of a Hebrew shepherd, and unknowingly honoring the God of Abraham. Elohim, how great you are, he thought. You've done what I never could. Your father was a great man, one elder said, and you are greater still for honoring him in this way. May the God of your fathers bless your line, another added. The gifts began to pile up at Joseph's feet, but he made no move to gather them. He bowed his head in silent humility, tears welling up at the corners of his eyes. The Sons of Promise. After the final blessing was spoken, Joseph stepped forward and laid his hand on the bier. "Return, my father," he whispered, "to the land promised to you." Then, with quiet care, they laid Israel in a carved hollow within the stone chamber, among the resting places of those who had come before him: Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Leah, the wife who bore him half a nation. His body was placed with reverence in the family tomb, not alone, but among the covenant bearers of generations past. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Ephraim and Manasseh stepped closer, staring at the cave that held their Hebrew ancestors. Manasseh whispered, "It's like walking through history." Ephraim didn't respond at first. His eyes scanned the ancient markers, the time-worn carvings along the cave wall. The place felt alive, with memory, with promise, with presence. Joseph approached and stood behind them. "Here lie Abraham, Isaac, and now Israel," he said quietly. These are your ancestors, not by blood alone, but by covenant. Ephraim finally turned to his father. Then this land, it belongs to us too? Joseph smiled faintly. Not yet, but one day, when Elohim says the time is right. Manasseh looked back at the path they had come from. Will Pharaoh let us return? Joseph's eyes darkened slightly with thought. He will, for now, but even pharaohs forget. He placed his hands on the shoulders of both sons. Never forget this place, and never forget who you are. As the light of morning deepened, the brothers began to turn away, one by one, but the cave behind them stood firm. Israel had returned to the land of promise, and with him the memory of everything that had come before. The matriarch remembered. After the burial ceremony for Israel, as the last of the dignitaries departed and the light faded from the hills, 6 sons of Leah remained behind. The others had gone to tend to the animals and prepare for the night's camp, but Leah's sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, lingered near the mouth of the cave. They waited until the priests had extinguished the final ceremonial lamps and the area had cleared. Then, silently, they stepped inside. The cave was cool and still, the air thick with the scent of old stone, cedar resin, and ancient dust. Their sandals scuffed softly across the smooth, packed earth. Inside, the chamber widened slightly, revealing rows of stone niches carved directly into the rock. Each niche bore a simpler mark, a line, a name, a symbol, and shallow grooves where small oil lamps once flickered. A single flickering lamp remained lit near the back. They approached it in silence. There, in a low, gently arched niche, rested a stone marker, Leah. She had been laid there years ago, before the long years of Egypt. Her place was quiet, honored, and undisturbed. Reuben knelt first. He said nothing at first, only touched the edge of the stone. I failed you, he whispered, but you never stopped being my mother. I remember your stories by firelight, the way you sang to me when I had a fever as a boy. He paused. I was never the man I should have been, but I am still your son. Simeon stood nearby, arms folded, the lamplight dancing across his stern face. You were stronger than we ever deserved, he murmured. They said Rachel was beautiful, but you endured. His voice faltered. I wish I had honored you more while you lived. Levi placed a folded linen cloth near the base of her tomb. Abba says my anger consumes me, he said softly, but you always knew how to soothe me. Judah knelt beside Reuben. Your name wasn't sung like Rachel's, but it was your sons who carried father home. He placed a carved stone near the lamp. I named my daughter after you. Did you know that? Issachar and Zebulun each stepped forward with small tokens, dried figs wrapped in cloth, a carved shell from their old homeland, one smooth stone from the riverbed of Penuel. Zebulun paused, then reached into his tunic and withdrew a woven strip of blue thread, knotted with tiny beads and a single pressed sprig of hyssop. From Dinah, he said softly. I was born from your prayer, Issachar whispered, that you might earn father's love, but you gave it to us freely. They stood together in silence, the flame flickering low between them. She was never the favorite, Judah said quietly, but she was the mother of half a nation. Reuben exhaled and rose to his feet. She deserves more than we gave her. We give it now, Levi replied. One by one, they turned and left the chamber, their steps soft, their heads bowed, not in shame, but in reverence. As they emerged from the cave, the stars had begun to pierce the twilight. Behind them, in the cool, sacred darkness, Leah's lamp continued to burn. The entrance was sealed, and a stone rolled into place. Outside, they marked the site with a circle of smooth white stones, a sign of honor, memory, and promise.
You've been listening to the Moses Chronicles Prelude, narrated by M. McIntosh. To explore the full audiobook, purchase it in digital or printed form, or discover companion writings, visit moseschronicles.com. For more sacred fiction, subscribe and journey with us through promises, exile, and deliverance. New chapters are released weekly. Until then, may the quiet still speak.